Good evening and welcome to tonight's Piledriver Podcast with myself, Dynamite D. Weber, and none other than the Surgeon, NHS Hero, Gav Collingwood. Gav, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right so far.
Cool. Excellent. So we've got quite a meaty main event tonight, Faction Schmaction. So for all those of you who are tuning in via Periscope, YouTube, and also Twitch, please comment. Give us your best and worst groups/factions in all wrestling organisations over the decades. We have got a fair few to go through ourselves. But without further news, Gav, shall I kick off some of the news and things that have been happening in this week of wrestling?
You certainly can, yeah. Well, I go about 50 other pages.
Fantastic. So, sad bit of news to start off with. Yeah, it's just a sad bit of news to start off with, really. For a wrestling star, Jimmy Rave had a serious infection this week in his left arm, and sadly has now been forced to retire due to having his left arm amputated up to the elbow. He's a former Ring of Honor and Impact star, and 21 years in the wrestling industry, and it sadly had to come to a halt this week due to him having his left arm amputated due to a really serious infection. Jimmy has tweeted, "I've been very blessed for the last 21 years in professional wrestling and getting to live out my dream today. Today, that dream has ended for me, and I have a new reality. The past Tuesday, my world came crashing down when doctors found an infection in my left arm. I tried toughing it out, but by the time I saw a doctor, it was too late, and they had to amputate my left arm above the elbow, thus effectively ending my career." He's thanked all the people that he worked with, all the fans that cheered for him, all the fans that booed him, and all the fans who threw toilet paper at him as well over his 21-year career. So on behalf of the Piledriver Podcast, all the best to Jimmy Rave, and hopefully there can be something that he can be doing behind the scenes or even on commentary or something like that in the wrestling business. Gav, do you have any other bits of news that have happened in the world of wrestling this week?
Yeah, let's start off with a rather weird comment from Lance Storm comparing AEW to pineapple on pizza. He tweeted saying,
I don't like pineapple on pizza.
"Oh, it's an acquired taste." Which is exactly what he said as well. Literally, he's saying it offers an acquired taste that few pizza lovers enjoy. Well, he's wrong.
I think so, because for me personally, I don't know what you think or anybody listening, but for me, AEW is the most exciting wrestling promotion at the moment in terms of mainstream wrestling. So, but each to their own. You know, we have people who would prefer WWE, people who prefer Ring of Honor, people who prefer New Japan Pro Wrestling, and also people who prefer other factions as well. So, yeah, okay, fair enough, Lance Storm. But Lance Storm did come up with comments ever when it was Goldberg versus Lesnar, the first ever Mania event, and he tweeted afterwards, "I've wrestled harder than that for less than $50 a night." So, you know, I do like some of what Lance Armstrong says. Anything else you've got there, Gav?
No, I'd just like to add on, though, he's kind of right. I mean, you either like AEW or you're wrong. Kenny Omega's also come up with saying that Kenny Omega actually wants to have a fight with AJ Styles or Seth Rollins or the New Day. Apparently AJ Styles and him worked together in New Japan, and he saved him in a lot of ways, and possibly when he was thinking about possibly getting out of wrestling. And the New Day would be a lot of fun to work with. That definitely would be. And Seth Rollins apparently gets compared to a lot.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
I can see any of those matches working. No pun intended, but him versus AJ would be nothing short of phenomenal, because they are both like athletes who they've been around, it just seems, forever and ever and ever. But I don't think these guys have even hit their peak yet in terms of what they're capable of doing. So that would be an epic match. Yeah, I'm definitely more in favour of Kenny versus AJ, but I think Kenny teaming up with someone like Seth or AJ against the New Day would be nothing short of a wrestling exhibition masterpiece, to be honest with you, because again, really, really technical but entertaining wrestlers. So yeah, I could see that working in the not too distant future.
Shall we finish off with the weirdest news story of the week, I guess?
Yes, yeah, go for it.
So Kevin Nash is starring in a new film called COVID-19 Ow My Quads. Sorry, it's called COVID-19 Inversion.
I hope it doesn't involve any running.
He won't do. He don't.
Because he don't run, does he? Do you know what I mean?
According to IMDb, Nash will portray the role of a Navy SEAL who attempts to battle Chinese bats that invaded America.
Oh no!
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, so for all fans of Sharknado, this
that
will
film was
probably
good.
Be right up your street. Yeah. Which one? There's all 6 of them, isn't there?
All of them.
All of them.
It's a cop out.
I'll take your word for that. All of them. Every one of them. A bit like the Marine films. I've also got some other news. Is it weird? Is it not? I don't know. So the monster from WWE, Lance. There's rumours why he's not being pushed anymore on SmackDown. The reason was because Vince was initially a massive fan of Lance and his ways of just literally decimating through the likes of Jeff Hardy, Chad Gable, and various other things. But anybody who's been following his career will see that he's not got the most silver of tongues when it comes to voicing opinions on certain minorities in the world as well. And I think by the sound of it, or the rumours seem to be, that patience has now run out. They haven't even got a storyline for him anymore. And I think it's probably going to be more than likely he'll appear on another promotion in the not too distant future next year.
Potentially. You never know when these things
Potentially. You never ever do. Have you got any more news for us, Gab, before we jump into the main event?
Braun Strowman's alleged suspension indefinitely is basically his cover up for an injury, which is the classic.
To cover up for an injury?
Yeah, he's got a knee injury. I know the feeling, being told your knees do not work very well.
Right.
That's about.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, when you look. I apologise, folks, for the sound effects going crazy in the background there. Yeah, it just seems to be a pattern, doesn't it? With the sort of, we mentioned Kevin Nash a couple of minutes ago, whose career was blighted by various different leg injuries. The great Khali as well, sort of disappeared as quickly as he jumped on the scene, and they made him more into sort of a gimmick character towards the end because he couldn't wrestle properly anymore. So it seems to be a thing, doesn't it, with the sort of 6'7", 6'8" plus wrestlers over a period of time. The legs just don't seem to be doing what they're doing. So could this be a permanent thing with Braun Strowman? Who knows? But if he does come back, thankfully it looks like he won't be getting any more time on WWE Underground, which seems to have literally gone underground itself. So I suppose that'll save some injury work and some wear and tear. Do you know, again, it disappeared as quickly as it came on the scene, didn't it? And
so did Retribution.
Thankfully so. Yeah, I think Retribution have as well. Again, you plough all this build-up, all this money into these things, you really big them up, and then you just bin them off, So
WWE.
Well, it is, and there's also big rumours as well on the back of SmackDown, and not coming up with any storylines for Lance, is that there are allegedly no scripted scripts done for SmackDown beyond TLC. So wrestlers and performers are scratching their heads and wondering and getting quite frustrated, so the rumour mill says, about what is going to be happening to their pushes in the future and going into 2021.
Yeah, you just can't predict anything with WWE now. There's no story. It's just, I want a match with you. I'm going to get a match with you. I want a title match with you. Okay, you can have one. It just makes no sense. They're playing people.
There's no build up, is there? That's it. There's no quality, no sort of work or grinding out a month or two's worth of storyline or heel turns or face turns, and that's what it's missing now, isn't it? That's what, as a wrestling fan, I'm missing the build up to how does so and so fight with so and so? How does this group get to fight for the tag team belts? How does this happen? It's just like a pay-per-view comes up. It's so they're fighting, and you can pretty much nail down. You can look at the pay-per-views now on WWE and say they'll lose, they'll win, they'll lose. Somebody will interfere in that match, and you can just literally call it down the line, can't you? It's getting so predictable now.
I can completely agree with that. It's pointless paying that much for a pay-per-view. But then again,
it is, yeah.
$9.99 now, isn't it?
Yeah,
you
that's
get
it.
What you pay for nowadays.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, if you find it in the bargain basement, it's there for a reason. So on that then, Gav, do we have any more news before we jump into tonight's main event?
I think you can ring them bells and get the main event going, I think, because that's all the news I can find.
Let's do it! Let's get on with it then. So tonight's main event... Yeah, woo! You know me, bargain. And do you know what? I didn't even pay $9.99 for these either. So going to tonight's main event, we are talking about factions and the best and worst groups / factions of all time. Gav, would you like me to kick off, or have you already got one in mind?
Hey, feel free to kick off. I'm sure you've got a good one in mind already.
So this one is a varied one. It's like if you can imagine a tree with its various different branches, and each branch is no bigger or better or, worse than the others. It's, of course, NWO. You cannot kick off a show, a podcast about factions without talking about the NWO. Now, as we're all aware, when Hulk Hogan came down as the third man to allegedly help Macho Man Randy Savage, ooh, yeah, and he turned out to be the third man helping the outsiders of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. It then sparked off the NWO, and there was so many factions of them, weren't they? There was NWO Hollywood, there was NWO Black, there was NWO Red, there was NWO Wolfpack, and it had so many members like Booker T and Sting, Macho Man, Conan, Lex Luger. Obviously, as we've mentioned, Hall, Nash, and Hogan, and Brian Crutch Adams was in it for about 2 months as well, or 3 months. And there were just so many different people. And then we had like NWO versus NWO versus NWO. And it just went a bit mental. So although it started off, in my opinion, as a fantastic faction, something real exciting and something to either love or hate, depending on which side of the fan fence that you fell on, it just ended up really messy, didn't it? Really, really messy, did the NWO. I don't know what your opinions are on the NWO as a whole, Gav, but I just think, for me, it started off great, and then it's just like, I don't know who's in what NWO now.
I think they did a Vince on it, really. They started out with this really great idea, and then they put everyone in it, trying to push everyone using it. It just stopped working. It wasn't special anymore. It was just, it's them.
Yeah, it was almost like WCW became just NWO.
It was a show on the roster of itself. It's pointless.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I watched some videos on it earlier in the week, and...
Oh, you're frozen.
I just thought, oh, man, no wonder this just... people just got wound up with creative. But it just, it just absolutely just went all belly up, didn't it? So let's have a look on here. My first really poor faction, if you can call it that. Does anybody remember the Mean Street Posse?
I remember them by name, but I don't remember them doing anything.
So Mean Street Posse consisted of, and these were literally jobbers. I don't think Mean Street Posse actually won any matches. It consisted of wrestlers called Pete Gas. Pete Gas was the main man in Mean Street Posse.
No relation
Rodney.
to Carl Gas.
No, I don't think so. One of the guys was called Rodney. Well, if you're named after a character from Only Fools and Horses, it's only going to go one way. And the third guy was Joey Abs. Joey Abs. So Pete Gas, Rodney, and Joey Abs. And their gimmick was that they were friends of Shane McMahon. So they were Shane O'Mac's mates.
Oh,
and they were from the mean streets of Greenwich, Connecticut, which is obviously, if anybody knows America, is quite an upper class part of America. And they used to wear their lovely attire of sweater vests and dress pants, and they literally got battered by anybody and everybody who was in there.
So
and
we've got Mr. Gas, we've got Mr. Abs, and we've got Rodney, who is an ass, basically.
Yeah, basically.
They
Yeah,
called
yeah.
it just the gastrointestinal club.
If you ever saw them wrestle, you probably think that that's where they got their inspiration for the wrestling moves from as well. It was weird because WrestleMania 2000, I sit corrected. They actually all three of them would briefly win the hardcore title.
Oh wow, like 24-hour title now.
All three of them won. Yeah, and it was all three of them won it at the same time, but it was it was just such an abysmal faction.
Wasn't that Battle Royale for the hardcore title that they won it in?
I think it was the Battle Royale.
And then they screwed up the ending and it went to Hardcore Holly instead of Crash or something.
That's right, yes. Yeah.
I remember that one. What a tribute.
So that was my... yeah. Again, but I think they lasted longer than Retribution, so, fair play to them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They made some coin out of it. Gav, we'll come on to you. Have you got a faction in mind that you remember seeing and thinking, this is amazing, or looking at it and thinking, oh dear?
I'm going to start off with a modern one. I'm going to go with Nightmare Family, saying this could be amazing if they do it right and not go the NWO way, even. Because at the moment they've got, 8 or 9 people in it already? We've got QT Marshall, Cody, Brandy. I've got his name.
Dusty,
that's the one.
Dustin Rhodes.
That is the one. And then we've got
artist formerly known as Goldust.
That's why I couldn't remember his name. And what's his name? We've got Mr. Ass and his family in it now as well.
Yes.
So
that's right, the Gun Club.
It's getting big. But I think it's too big for what size roster they have at the moment. Like, it's basically half a show's worth of talent in one stable. So it could go
and
back.
Also as well, they don't seem to be pushing for any titles, do they? Like, I know you've got QT and Dusty, they're in the tag team, obviously they do singles competitions, but they're not actually anywhere near challenging the Young Bucks, are they, for the titles?
It just seems like a bit of a waste at the moment.
Cody's obviously, it does, doesn't it? Brandy doesn't seem to be anywhere near the women's title as well, does she? Or the NWA title. I mean, I know she's out injured now as well. And it's like you say, it's a big faction. I mean, if they're building up to it, to something in terms of, main events, challenging for titles, getting on the the main spots of pay-per-views, and great. But I agree with you. Is it going to be something that's just going to be there and just fizzle out, or is it building to something?
Well, along that line as well, though, when the Dark Order really just like a joke faction basically to begin with.
Yeah.
And now they've turned into something good, so hopefully it's a slow burn like that.
Yeah, and I think that, could be a really good build-up for a good few months if you had the Dark Order versus the Nightmare family in various different... Yeah, that's it. Yeah, get Brody Lee back. And yeah, I mean, although I'm absolutely loving the Dark Order on Dark and on Dynamite and on BTE, it lacks that. It genuinely does lack the leadership, doesn't it, when Brody Lee's not there? So I'm looking forward to that. And I just love the way that Brody Lee absolutely buries John Silver in BTE as well. I just think it's absolute class. It's just, yeah, poor child. When he even missed him on the high five when he won the TNT belt, it was just excellent.
It was so well done. But we don't get that on WWE.
No, just genuine comedy chemistry gold, that.
And it was so subtle as well, though, because like if you didn't know about the whole like he ignores him, you wouldn't notice it. You just think he'd just high five him.
Yeah. But you've got to watch BTE to be in on it all. And John Silver on BTE, honestly, he just deserves awards for his comedy, his gold. Timing. He is, yeah. Silver is gold. That should be his next shirt.
He has got
and
one.
I'm definitely going to get me.
He has got a silver.
Has he got one?
Shirt, yeah, I'll have to link you it.
Oh, dude, I've got to put that on my Christmas list with Mrs. Abbott. I've been trying to get her to buy me to buy me AEW figures. She went, "You're 40." I went, "Your problem being?" She went, "You're 40." I went, "What do you mean?" She went, "Yes, but you're 40." She said, and I just refused to buy them. I said, "I'm not going to play with them. I am a collector. It is my art." And it makes me happy, and it keeps me quiet. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to have to hope that Santa's just going to leave some loose change out of his wallet and I'll have to buy my own, I think. On that then, Gav, sell the Dark Order to us as well.
Dark Order is basically a rejects club, but have turned into something so much better now. It started out as like a little cult for people that basically aren't successful, but they want to be. And then you got the likes of John Silver, just nails it every week. Then you got Brody Lee, the unexpected leader that came out of nowhere to take over. Now potentially Hangman Page as well.
Oh, that would be awesome if that happened.
And then obviously you got the rest of the numbers. You got Reynolds. He's
Reynolds.
Awesome. Alan Angels. Just so many talented wrestlers in there that like they didn't get the time until they were in Dark Order.
Anna Jay as well, the most recent member,
who always cracks up laughing and tries to hide it in being the elite as well. You can see this all the time.
Especially with John Silver, especially with Silver. Like this week's been BTA when he's going Anna.
You could see her covering a laugh as well. It's great.
And I just love the way she just braised stew every single week. Just walks into a room and just literally just pummels him over a table. It's just class.
And
of course, you've got,
the fact like you said, him too much either.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you've got Five in there as well. Five's quite an underrated wrestler, I think. So yeah, you got Five. Obviously, Alan Angels 10. Reynolds and Silver. Yeah, Reynolds and Silver as well. Evil Uno, who was like the spin doctor of the group, isn't he? So fantastic. And then obviously when you get Mr. Brody Lee, who rumours were it was going to be Matt Hardy, was originally touted for the leader of the Dark Order, but they changed it because they both signed at the same time, didn't they? And they changed it to give. I couldn't.
It's not imposing enough.
No, and he's too facey, isn't he? Historically, Matt Hardy is a face, but having somebody big, imposing, and a brute like Brody Lee, who literally is just just like the evil stepdad of the group who just berates all the smaller ones, and then he's always high-fiving and giving all the perks to the larger ones who kiss his ass. So it's just fantastic. Another
Like
faction we're gonna, yeah, another one here. I'm kind of going to combine this one. I've got here the Social Outcasts and 3MB. Now, are you familiar with any of those factions?
I'm familiar with 3MB getting buried on the 1000th episode of Raw.
So 3MB were literally like kind of a modern day Mean Street Posse. It was Heath Slater, Drew McIntyre, and Jinder Mahal. Now, at the time when the three-man band 3MB were around, you couldn't put money on the fact that Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre would go on to be SmackDown and Raw champions years later. You couldn't put money on it because it was just absolutely appalling. They were literally jobbers, but comedy value for Heath Slater because he's comedy gold wherever he goes. And then it kind of spun off a little bit later in the Social Outcast, which consisted of Heath Slater, who at that time was going around telling everybody that he had 6 kids to feed and he desperately needed title shots and contracts.
Kids,
yeah. That's right. And Bo Dallas, the brother of the Fiend Bray Wyatt, the son of Mr. Perfect, Curtis Axel,
who wasn't
and
perfect.
the guy, and he used to do he used to have the Hogan gimmick as well, didn't he? The Hulk Hogan gimmick, Curtis Axel, and Adam Rose. If you remember him, he used to come dancing to the ring with like a person dressed in a rabbit suit and various other people. Braun Strowman was one of that group that used to come down dancing with him back in the day as well. Honestly, it's hilarious. If anybody Googles who danced with Adam Rose and just look at the wrestlers that made it big in NXT and then made it big on the bigger brands as well, you'll see. I think Braun Strowman's like dressed up as well on that. It's I think it's there are certain things you need to do to climb up the ladder, and I think that was one of his things that he sort of lives to regret. But yeah, Social Outcast, they always literally complained of poor treatment, not getting the chances to fight at main events, not getting the pay-per-view opportunities, and they used to use social media to vent the frustration. Again, they were all basically jobbers, but Bo Dallas and Heath Slater and Curtis Axel to an extent as well, comedy gold. But again, really, really, really terrible. Just terrible.
Just terrible in general.
Just terrible as a faction as well. And I think one of the best ones though of all time. Again, it had various spin-offs like NWO did, but you cannot fault for the amount of talent it's brought through over the years. The Bullet Club.
Definitely.
I mean, you think of like the names that we now know that have come through there. You've had Hangman Page, the Cleaner, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles, Finn the Demon Balor. I mean, it's just had so many amazing wrestlers that stayed in Japan for years, sharpened up the skill set, learned from some of the most amazing athletes in Japan as well, got on side, had the crowd in the palm of the hands, and then came back to America and Canada and obviously all over the world to just to stand out on their own as well. So I don't know what your thoughts and opinions are on any members of the Bullet Club or any of the other social outcasts or 3MB.
There's not really been many people in Bullet Club that haven't turned out really good, really. It was a decent faction, really. There was a lot of members in it, but again, they did it right. For the majority, obviously.
Yeah, for the majority, and it had, certain props to New Japan Wrestling for giving young wrestlers at that time leadership status. I mean, Finn Balor was one of the most memorable leaders of it. Cody as well was a leader. So was Kenny, and AJ Styles as well. So, these guys were literally the spearhead of the Bullet Club at certain points as well during its tenure. So, and when you look at it now, it's still ongoing, but the amount of members from Japan and America and Canada have been in it, it's just absolutely immense, isn't it? I think as it had getting on for 30, 40, maybe 50 different members, I think, in it, something like that.
Definitely something like that.
Gallows and Anderson as well, they were in it, weren't they? So it's had a lot in it, and obviously that's where the
Anderson and
Too Sweet.
What's his name? Were one of the family members, weren't they? Finn Balor and Gallant and family members. So fair enough.
That's right. Yeah, and that's where the Too Sweet comes from. When you see that, and if anybody watched Impact this week, you'll have seen mini AJ Styles make a return to Impact, which was kind of AJ Swoggle, and the fact that him and I think it was Carl Anderson won it, did the Too Sweet as well, was just hilarious. But the fact that good old Hornswoggle had to get to the top of the steel step to be able to do the Too Sweet was just class. It was just genius. And he actually had the AJ Styles hairdo as well. It was like really weird. He literally was a mini AJ Styles. Any other factions, Gav?
It'd be rude not to go with the Elite.
Got to mention the Elite.
They are, the Elites. What more can you really add to it?
That's where the program came from as well, and also the finishing move as well, the trigger for the Young Bucks. But the Elite, I mean, up until when was it? We're talking 4 months ago now, 3 or 4 months ago. It was a lot bigger than what it was. Gav, shine the light on some of the members past and present.
Obviously, Kenny Omega, leader, founder. Matt and Nick Jackson, also co-founders. Cody didn't actually join until late 2018.
True.
And then Adam Page at the same time as well. Marty, I can never say his surname. Skrull. Yeah, him.
Marty Skrull.
He was slightly a member for a little bit of time.
Yep.
That's the main members. Have got obviously like people that associate with them, but that was the main group.
Absolutely.
But they only started off as a subdivision of the Bullet Club.
That's right. Yeah. And now they've even got their own sort of like YouTube show, Being the Elite, which if no one has seen Being the Elite, just jump in at any episode. It is absolutely hilarious. Literally is all the stars of AEW backstage just being themselves. No holds barred, warts and all, and some of the sketches that they put together they really are comedy genius, honestly. Especially, as we've already mentioned, if you get to see anything about the Dark Order backstage as well. And I like Michael Nakazawa.
Naka.
He's Nakazawa. He's becoming one of my favourites on Being the Elite as well. Just hilarious. Greasing up the turnbuckle so people fall off in the matches.
And the ropes
just
as well.
Hilarious. And the ropes as well. Any other factions, Gab, before we move on?
I don't really class them as factions because there's not enough members really, but Jurassic Express and Best Friends, I have to mention.
Yes. Yeah. Again, brilliant. Jurassic Express, does that consist of Luchasaurus?
65
the dinosaurs.
years old, the poor old man.
He's only 65. He looks good for that age, though, man, to be fair. He's looked after
done
himself. He's done all right, hasn't he? He's done all right. Who else have we got in there as well? Luke Perry's son.
Jungle Boy, Luke Perry Jr.
Yeah, Jungle Boy.
Well, Jack Perry. Could have called him Luke Perry because, yeah.
That's right. And who else is in there as well? Oh, Marco.
Man, Mr. Fun Size.
Mr. Fun Size, Marcos. Do you know he gets so much hate on social media? Like really
so
brutal
fun.
hate. But I think he's brilliant. He just works because you look at him and you hear him and you just think, never ever would I put you in the industry of wrestling ever. You know, he just seems like the kind of kid who just like cleans cars in the background of Hollywood movies. Do you know what I mean? And just goes around on a skateboard listening to Nirvana and Pearl Jam all day.
Fair enough.
But absolutely, but it works. That faction just works, doesn't it? And again with best friends, what more can you say? It's got best friends, but they've also got the main man, which is the freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. Does a faction get any cooler than that?
Don't get any lazier.
It certainly doesn't get any lazier than that. No, it really doesn't. And again, that's a figure that I really want. I need to get a boxed, undisputed era Orange Cassidy, because I just know I'm going to be sitting on the gold mine when I retire. Do you know what I mean? When I get that figure. So yeah. Quickly go through a couple of others, Gav, here. I've got one of the worst ones, and it shouldn't have been. It should have been amazing, because I remember watching TNA when all this was going on, and it was built for months and months and months and months, and it was started off like real secretive and disguised voices on the videos and all this, and it just when it all came to fruition, it was just pants. And that was Aces and Eights on TNA. Do you know much about Aces and Eights?
Not much, but they're like a slightly better version of I forgot what they're called on WWE now. They died away and I forgot what they're called now. Retribution. Yeah, and it was kind of like at the height of when Sons of Anarchy came out, which is a great TV show. I mean, I absolutely loved Sons of Anarchy, and they all came out as bikers, and they're all disguised in like biker chiefs and shades, and I think you're frozen again.
Benny hats on, and they're all coming in. Literally, they were just beating up the faces all the time. Then they'd even beat up the heels on the show, and it was just building and building. There was more and more members, and then they revealed their leader in a surprise heel turn against his brother Devon. It was Bully Ray, who was found out was the leader, the guy pulling the strings all along. So he thought, oh, Bully Ray, this is going to be immense. Now, come on, El Presidente. Come on, guys, the rest of you take your masks off. And it was all like, yes, this is getting real exciting now. And then it was like Ken Anderson, and you thought, oh, that's not too bad. I didn't mind Mr. Anderson, great on the mic. And then it was like, oh, there's D'Lo Brown.
Ooh.
And there's Devon, and then there's all sorts of other wrestlers who are just pants, and oh look, there's Garrett Bischoff, and basically, yeah, and it was where's Briscoe? Oh man,
although they don't have
Briscoe, and it was just and it literally was just a faction of wrestlers who nobody would ever take seriously if they fought for any serious titles, barring the Dudley Boys and maybe Ken Anderson. The rest of them were just like, oh no. And then once they revealed the masks, once they took the masks off and revealed who they were, they all just got battered week in, week out. So
I think the only good member of them was Leva Bates.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, from AEW.
Yep.
With who's with Peter and why's the other guy's name gone up? She's not, is she?
No.
Is she just on her own now?
Yeah, she's kicked out the Deadwood, in her own words.
Yeah, that's right. Because she was with Peter and what's the other guy called? She finally got 3 wins in a row.
I can't remember his name for the life of me.
Oh, the guy who runs the camera, doesn't he, in BTE?
What's his name? Man.
Yes.
It'll click in a minute.
Oh my days.
I'm going to look at the roster.
Lever Bates was with... Oh, this is shocking. I can't believe that's just like falling out my head.
Brandon Cutler.
But yeah, she was actually trained by Barbara and Devon as well.
It's Brandon Cutler.
That's it, Brandon Cutler. Thank you very much. Yes, Brandon
Google.
Cutler, that's it. Yes. Yes, quick. Yeah, thank you, Google, for bailing us out with that one. So, yeah, probably, another memorable member of that, who's now obviously flying high in AEW. But, it had so much promise, Aces and Eights, and it literally just fizzled out. So much promise. Could have been a really, really good faction. But, and TNA Impact, they've never been really good, in my opinion, of handling factions for a long period of time. Anything else, Gav, before we wrap up the main event?
I can't really think of any others apart from, the Inner Circle, that little group.
Inner Circle, yes, the Inner Circle of a little bit of the bubbly Chris Jericho, 30 years this year in wrestling, along with fantastic, awesome wrestlers like Sammy Guevara, big lad of
Sammy Guevara,
Jake Hager, and also Guevara, the Spanish God. And you've also got
to finally be able to show his skill
Ortiz
as well.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. And now with recent recruits of MJF and Wardlow as well. So, and I think that's a faction that's going to be really, really good. I can see it imploding at some point. I can still see Sammy turning face even. But I don't know if it's with Matt Hardy, because Matt Hardy's just going around telling everybody that he's now responsible for people doing well in the roster. So I don't know where that's going to end up. I can see Sam turning face at some point.
I hope so.
Well.
But that'd be the double sex gods.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, I think it will. So, but yeah, I think that remains to be seen for 2021. Does that one? So, Gav, does that wrap up our section? Oh, we cannot. And I know Dale, who sadly isn't on the podcast today because he's not feeling very well. He'll be shouting at this at the podcast, going, "Why have you not mentioned Evolution, Triple H, Ric Flair, Batista, and Randy Orton as well?" When Randy Borden was worth watching.
You have to work me up.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, it's a good cure for insomnia if you can get together a highlight reel of Randy Borden. So, so many great. Yeah, draping DDT off the second rope. Oh, let's pretend to be a snake. Yawn. Yeah. Oh, let me go into a title shot. Oh, boring. Again. So, if anybody listening tonight, or listening, obviously, to a recorded version of this, if we've missed out any of your favourite and worst and most hilarious and most pointless factions and stables, put them in the comments. Get on our Facebook page, Piledriver Podcast. Yes, tell us how overrun we are. Tell us about your favourite worst factions. What factions would you like to see? Who would you like to see team up together as well? One thing as well that we haven't really touched upon, because there hasn't been that many long-term ones, are any female stables as well, have they? There hasn't been any ones that have sort of been longevity. There's been some that have maybe mixed together for a brief period of time, then dispersed. But maybe that's something that all wrestling organisations need to focus on, is a really good female stable, because they only seem to come together at Survivor Series, don't they? Team Raw, Team SmackDown, things like that, and Team NXT. So, Gav, does that conclude tonight's main event?
I hope so, because I haven't got any more that I can think of.
Awesome!
There is a sound
And
effect
that
there somewhere.
concludes. Yay! Faction Schmaction. Fandabidozy. Right then, so, Gab, do we have any birthdays coming up in the next week or going into December?
We do have 2 birthdays today. We have the
Ooh!
illustrious Jerry the King Lawler.
The King's Court. Wow!
And less
Happy birthday to the King.
Less happy birthday though to JBL. Not a big fan of him.
No, certainly not with his antics off behind the scenes as well, especially to the Blue World Order.
Yeah.
Bang out of order. Any other birthdays?
Yesterday, Mr. Eric Rowan, who seems to have disappeared from everything at the moment.
Formerly of the Wyatt family, yeah. I think there could be something they could do with him, you know. I think he'd be a good member of the Dark Order if he ever got into AEW.
It could work.
Mm.
Who else? Christian tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Christian.
And it would be rude not to mention British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith would have been on the 27th as well.
Oh, right. So a posthumous birthday there for Davey Boy Smith. Gav, the highlight of the week. We've managed to carry it just the 2 of us this far. What is the joke of the week, Gav?
That is a good question. I'm just going to go with Kevin Nash's quads.
Kevin Nash's quads are a joke.
He's going to pop them while he's filming this film. He's going to do it.
Yes. Is that the crowd popping? No, Kev. It's your quads. Hey!
There we go. You win this week.
Yeah, there we go. Why ain't nobody laughing, man? Why ain't nobody laughing? Where's the laughter gone? Do you know what I mean? There's just no laughter at all. Kevin Nash's quote. I mean, I thought that was a pretty sick joke, to be honest with you.
If it hadn't happened a million
times, because it's just not
funny.
Right. What do you think, folks?
We've got a working sound effect.
Oh, you see, they loved it. They loved the Kevin Nash quad pop joke. Do you know what I mean? So that leaves us now for this week's and the final Piledriver podcast of November 2020. So join us next Sunday, 8 p.m. British time,
approximately,
when we will have another subject. Approximately, give or take a minute, and we'll have a brand new topic to discuss. If anybody out there wants to throw a topic at us for us to overanalyze and discuss, whether it's something serious, something light-hearted, or something in between as well, in the wonderful world of wrestling, put it in the comments. Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook as well. So contact us. Put your ideas on there, guys. Spread the word about the Piledriver podcast, because we do want to get bigger and better, and we can only do that with your help, your love and support, and obviously you guys tuning in as well. So thank you very much, folks, and that concludes this week's Piledriver Podcast.